Good evening and welcome. Tonight, tribunal nullifies the election of Ademola Adeleke as Osun State governor. Orders INEC declares Boyega Oyetola as validly elected in the July 20 governorship poll. Former Governor Oyetola says its victory well deserved. Governor Adeleke describes Osun tribunal verdict as miscarriage of justice and vows to approach the appeal court to challenge the judgment. In less than a month to the commencement of the 2023 general elections, INEC to conduct mock voter accreditation exercise in 436 polling units across the country on February 4. And U.S. President Joe Biden urges protesters in Tennessee to remain peaceful as officials plan to release video of an arrest that led to a motorist's death.
On business news tonight, African Development Bank and International Fund for Agricultural Development partner to double productivity of 40 million farmers on the continent.
And from Abuja, the nation's capital, federal government estimates $6.6 billion lost to the 2022 flooding in Nigeria.
The much-anticipated verdict of the Osun State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal is out, with the tribunal nullifying the election of Mr. Ademola Adeleke of the People's Democratic Party as governor. It directed the Independent National Electoral Commission to withdraw the certificate of return issued to Adeleke and return Boyega Oyetola of the All Progressives Congress as the validly elected governor of Osun State. Now, in the judgment, the tribunal agreed with the petitioner that overvoting took place in the July 16, 2022 governorship election at many polling units as held by the petitioner. However, in a dissenting judgment, a member of the three-member tribunal cited inconsistencies in submissions surrounding the use of BVAs or its abuse.
It's not the usual court atmosphere here. Heavy presence of security operatives, hundreds of politicians talking in clusters, lawyers settling down inside the tribunal courtroom, everyone waiting to know where the pendulum swings in the petition filed against the winner of the July 2022 election, Mr. Ademola Adeleke. The three-man tribunal team settles in, and the real judgment, which lasted 3 hours, starts at about 10 minutes past 9 in the morning. The tribunal admits that overvoting took place at certain polling units as held by the petitioner, and this necessitates deductions across both parties. This leaves Mr. Oyetola with 314,931 votes and the PDP candidate, Mr. Adeleke, with a drastically reduced votes of 290,266. In the result declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, last year, Adeleke polled 403,271 votes against 375,27 votes polled by Oyetola. The tribunal consequently directed INEC to withdraw the certificate of return issued to Adeleke and return Oyetola as the validly elected governor of Osun State. But in a dissenting judgment, a member of the tribunal cites inconsistencies in submissions surrounding the use of beavers or its abuse, saying there is paucity of evidence to sustain the petitioner's case, as the beavers report relied on by the petitioner was not even taken in evidence. He also opposed the position of the tribunal that voter register has no place in the current electoral dispensation, insisting the petitioners could not simply rely on the beaver's back-end server report, which was not perfected at the time it was demanded for. Counsel to the petitioner and the defendant who were present in court give their reactions to that judgment.
It's a very solid, industrious judgment, and they delivered it on time as they promised. This is the first round we have won. It is up to the other side to decide what they want to do, whether they will just accept this now and go home, or they will go upstairs. Whatever the decision, we are there, and God is there.
The two decisions had nothing on the certificate, so he was cleared on the issue of certificate. So it was on the issue of the overvoting which was what the chairman went on and on about. And there are some fundamental issues there which we disagree with. But all this will be well laid out in the appeal.
The tribunal, however, cleared the PDP candidate on the issue of academic credentials and qualification for the election, saying he was eligibly qualified at the time he contested the election. Babajide Agbeyo, Channels Television News.
As expected, former Governor Gboyega Oyetola hailed the judgments of the tribunal, affirming him as winner of the July 16 governorship election in Osun State. During a press briefing following the verdict, Mr. Oyetola described the judgments as victory for democracy and that INEC is the greatest beneficiary of the judgments. He also urged supporters to remain law-abiding, adding it's a case of no victor, no vanquished.
I'm happy that the judgment has actually resolved the controversy about the winner of the 16th July election in the state. INEC is the greatest beneficiary of the judgment. But to afford INEC the opportunity to look at all the anomalies and make necessary arrangements to avoid the repetition of it, particularly now that we have a general election that is coming very soon. I thank the people of the state, I thank their supporters, millions of them, for standing by us and for their courage and loyalty. I want to assure them that we are ready to continue to serve them. I want to enjoy millions of our supporters and party members to remain calm, no matter the level of provocation on any quarters.
Meanwhile, Governor Ademola Adeleke has described the judgments of the governorship tribunal as a miscarriage of justice, vowing to challenge the ruling at the Court of Appeal. Reacting to the tribunal verdicts from his country home in Ede, Governor Adeleke faulted the resolution of the overvoting issue in favor of former Governor Gboyega Oyetola, calling it an unfair interpretation against the will of majority of voters. While urging his supporters to remain calm, the governor vowed to appeal the judgments at the Court of Appeal, insisting he remains the rightful winner of the July 16 governorship election. And more reactions now on the Osun Tribunal judgments, and the governors of Ondo and Lagos states have hailed the decision. Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, in a statement, says the judgments will deepen the country's democratic values. He describes it as a victory for democracy, and it will further consolidate and deepen election petitions jurisprudence, as well as sustain the faith of the people in the democratic process. Lagos State Governor Babajide commended the judiciary for doing the right thing, asking Mr. Oyetola to be prepared to complete his developmental projects for the people of Osun State.
I think it was a majority decision, and I want to thank them and commend them for doing the right thing. I imagine they must have, been under tremendous pressure, but I'm sure at the end of the day, they believe that was the right outcome. And so my congratulations is to the APC family in Osun. This is a victory that has been delayed for such a long time, and it's not, the judiciary has shown that it was delayed but not denied. And so I want to congratulate my brother, Governor Oyetola, to go dust, all of his economic blueprints that he has started with the people of Osun, and to dust, all of his files, and ensure that by the grace of God, he will return back, to the Leri Oluwa journey, so that the dividends of all of his efforts in the last 4 years, he can go back to work and complete the very, very good work that he has started.
And more reactions from the PDP camp. The presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has reacted to the Osun Election Petition Tribunal judgments. Mr. Atiku says he stands in solidarity with the good people of Osun State who voted for the PDP and gave their mandate to Governor Ademola Adeleke. He described today's judgments as a phase in the struggle to liberate Osun State, saying he's sure at the end of the whole process, the people shall be victorious. He urged the people of Osun to continue to have faith in their governor, whom they elected into office in popular ballot. To other electoral matters, with little less than 2 months to the governorship polls, the People's Democratic Party has announced it will conduct a fresh governorship primary election in Abia State. It follows the death of the party's flag bearer in the state, Professor Uche Konne, on Wednesday. According to a statement signed by the PDP vice chairman and acting publicity secretary, Elder Abraham Ama, the new primary will hold on February 4th, 2023. The statement explains the decision is in line with the new Electoral Act on replacement of candidates arising from death. The party is asking all interested party members to collect expression of interest and nomination forms from the PDP headquarters at Wadata Plaza in Wuse, Abuja. Now, ahead of the general elections, which will commence with the presidential and National Assembly polls on February 25th, the Independent National Electoral Commission has slated February 4th, 2023 for a nationwide voter accreditation exercise. INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said this at a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja to fine-tune preparations for the forthcoming general polls. According to the INEC chairman, the mock exercise will hold in 436 polling units across the country.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is attending this meeting with resident electoral commissioners from the 36th state of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory.
The Electoral Institute.
The INEC chairman describes the meeting as crucial, as it will put the finishing touches to the preparations for the 2023 general elections. And issues such as the ongoing collection of permanent voter cards will also be discussed.
The Commission is aware that there are few issues to be addressed. One of them is the ongoing collection of the permanent voters' cards, the PVCs. For instance, in Lagos State, which has the highest number of registered voters in the country, as of yesterday, Thursday, 26 January 2023, 839,720 PVCs have been collected, representing 89.3% of the total figure of the new cards. This meeting with REX will consider reports from other states of the Federation, and the Commission will not hesitate to consider additional measures to ensure that all citizens have ample opportunity to collect their PVCs ahead of the general election.
The electoral umpire will also be conducting a nationwide mock voters accreditation exercise to reassure Nigerians on the efficacy of the bimodal voter accreditation machine, which will be deployed for the first time in a general election.
The mock accreditation will hold on Saturday, 4th February 2023, in 436 polling units nationwide. 12 polling units have been designated in each state of the Federation and 4 in the Federal Capital Territory. The Commission appeals to registered voters in the affected polling units to appear on the scheduled dates with their PVCs for the mock exercise. Doing so will help to reassure the public of the robustness of our system and to strengthen our processes ahead of the general election.
It is less than 30 days to the exercise, and the Commission says all preparations, including the movement of electoral materials to locations across the country, training of electoral officers, and the accreditation of election observers are already in their final stages.
In part two, after the break, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, meets staff and students of the University of Abuja, vows a strike by university lecturers will not happen under his watch as president. That's in a moment. Enjoy this again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Tribunal nullifies the election of Ademola Adeleke as Osun State governor. Orders INEC declare Gboyega Oyetola as validly elected in the July 2022 governorship poll. Former Governor Oyetola says it's victory well deserved. Governor Adeleke describes Osun Tribunal verdict as miscarriage of justice and vows to approach the appeal court to challenge the judgment. Less than a month of the commencement of the 2023 general elections, INEC to conduct mock voter accreditation exercise in 436 polling units across the country on February 4. And U.S. President Joe Biden urges protesters in Tennessee to remain peaceful as officials plan to release video of an arrest that led to a motorist's death. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, is assuring students that university strikes will not happen under his watch as president. Mr. Obi made the promise during a town hall meeting with staff and students of the University of Abuja. He went down memory lane, saying that as governor of Anambra State, he put an end to the incessant strikes by lecturers of the Anambra State University. Our correspondent, Dele Moyeni, was there and now reports.
The Social Sciences Auditorium of the University of Abuja is hosting this presidential town hall meeting, and the guest is the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi. The idea of the town hall is for candidates to share their manifesto with the academic community.
To look at individual Nigerians, they are strong, they are beautiful, the man among them is charismatic, the woman among them is beautiful, I mean, brilliant in every way possible. Why is Nigeria still where we are? What have we done wrong?
Students and the school management listened as the Labour Party presidential candidate explains how he plans to create an enabling environment for youths to become wealth creators and employers of labour.
You must start, because everything you need to do must be simultaneous. You must start pulling people out of poverty. The only way to do this is to remove your country today from consumption to production. Nigeria is not producing anything. It is a country that has wasted everybody's time on sharing. And we want to remove the sharing formula and replace it with production formula.
He explained his plan to address insecurity, the economy, amongst other issues.
I've asked people like this, you have opportunity of traveling to Dubai. I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. The Catholic church in Dubai, the land and the church was built by Emir of Dubai. It's a Muslim. Let them stop telling us nonsense. The central mosque is not run. The land cost billions. The land was donated by the Queen. It's not a Muslim. It's only in Nigeria. Because they want to deceive us. Because they have refused to educate our people. Kept them impoverished to tell them lies. Tell them we will not follow you by religion.
Beyond his manifesto, Mr. Obi charges the students not to allow themselves be used by politicians during the election. This is the second in the series of the Abuja Leadership Town Hall, as this ivory tower had hosted the presidential candidates of the new Nigeria People's Party. The Vice-Chancellor says it's important that the academia is part of policy formulation, but whether or not that will lead to better good governance in the country, time will tell. Dele Moyeni, Channels Television News.
That's just off to Enugu State, where the People's Democratic Party has promised to take the state to greater heights if it is returned to power in the March elections. Leaders of the party gave the assurance during the flag-off of the statewide campaign at the Michael Okpara Square in the state capital. Leader of the G5 governors, Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, led other members of the group to rally support for the PDP in the state.
The governor of Enugu State, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, arrives at the Michael Okpara Square in the company of some members of the G5 governors, Nyesom Wike of Rivers, Samuel Otom of Benue, and Seyi Makinde of Oyo State for the flag-off of the state PDP campaign. They are joined by other party leaders in the state as they walk around the arena, acknowledging cheers from party supporters. The state party chairman assures guests that the party will ride on the achievement of Governor Ogwuanyi to return to power at the poll.
I want to let you know that out of his 8 development areas, we have toured 60 of them. And all of them, people came out in numbers to receive the incoming governor, the deputy, and other candidates. That is a clear demonstration that PDP is intact in the Enugu State, all because of the good work of our dear governor.
One after the other, the party candidates for different positions are handed flags. PDP governorship candidate Peter Mba speaks about his vision for the state.
Our vision is to grow the economy of Enugu State and make it one of the top 3 states in this country. We are going to build and take these developments to a monumental dimension.
Governor Ogwuanyi is also the senatorial candidate for Enugu North Zone, solicit for vote from the people, assuring them of proper representation, continuity, and delivery of good governance.
May I therefore, with the greatest respect, thank the Enugu for their support, for their continued support and solidarity all these years. I also thank you because I know and I believe that 2023 will finish strong, will finish well, and it will end in praise.
Governor Wike assures the candidates of support to ensure victory.
We will all give you the necessary support and make sure you emerge victorious in this election coming February 25th and March 11th.
As the election draws closer, the PDP in Enugu State says it's confident of victory, judging by the turnout at this rally.
Back here in Lagos, students have endorsed Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu for a 2nd term, and the presidential candidates of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Bola Tinubu, as their candidates. The students made their intentions known in Lagos today. At the event, the governor says he will continue to invest in the state's education sector and ensure the academic calendar is not disrupted.
Mobolaji Johnson Arena, Onikon, is the venue for the Lagos State Students' Mega Rally, held to show their support for the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate, Senator Bola Tinubu, as well as the re-election of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy, Kadri Hamzat. Governor Sanwo-Olu makes his way to the venue. The student union representatives from the national and state levels then take turns to endorse the candidates.
The only thing we can give the governor is our PVC and our vote. We hereby endorse Governor Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu.
The governor assures them of a greater Lagos and hands over more buses to the students.
I'm sure you are beginning to see meaningful development in your schools. When they were striking in the whole of the country, all the higher institutions in Lagos were not in one-day strike. All the higher institutions in Lagos State, you do not lose one day of strike. You are voting for your future. You are voting for the future of your children that are coming behind you. And you are voting for generations that are coming. And that's why we ask you that your vote is a vote for APC. From our presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to all of the APC candidates in the Senate and House of Rep. Of course, to the governorship candidate and House of Assembly, you will do the right thing, and God will bless you.
In a few weeks from now, citizens will proceed to the polling units and voting their preferred candidates. The APC presidential candidate and Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu will be counting on the support of the students for their victory.
been a night of political stories. Going to toss it over now to Maupe Ogun Yusuf in Abuja, who I think has one more for tonight. Maupe.
Well, hello, Amarachi. It's good to see you. It's somewhat political, but it's somewhat high alert here, as some states in the country have been listed as having a high tendency for manipulation during the forthcoming general elections. And that's according to a coalition of civil society organizations. Addressing journalists at the presentation of the Election Manipulation Risk Index report in Abuja, the executive director of Partners for Electoral Reforms, Mr. Ezenwa Wagu, explains that the report focuses on 6 variables, including INEC capturing, manipulation of voting register, and voter suppression, among others.
Election manipulation risk are high in 22 states of the Federation. The states are classified as high risk due to the presence of more than 3 election manipulation risk index variables. These states include Imo, Anambra, Enugu, Ebonyi, Abia, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Lagos, Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, Kwara, Niger, Plateau, Taraba, Kaduna, Bauchi, Adamawa, Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, Jigawa. The MRI reveals 12 states with medium election manipulation risk. The states include Borno, Yobe, Nasarawa, Benue, Kogi, Zamfara, Kebbi, Ogun, Edo, Delta, Bayelsa, and Cross River states. The 3 states with the low EMRI variables are Gombe, Ondo, and the Federal Capital Territory. On INEC capture, we think that INEC should deploy trusted, incorruptible, and experienced administrative secretaries, heads of the ICT and operations to high-risk states.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the African Development Bank and International Fund for Agricultural Development partner to double productivity of 40 million farmers on the continent. That's some business news. Do join us again. Welcome back. An estimated $6.6 billion was lost during the 2022 flooding in Nigeria. That's according to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Mrs. Sadiya Umar Farouk. This estimate, according to her, includes damages to residential and non-residential buildings, infrastructure, productive sectors, and farmland. She was speaking during the presentation of the assessment report of the 2022 flood situation in Nigeria.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is here with the management of the ministry to give a report of the 2022 perennial flood in most states of the country, which claimed lives and properties, the worst in the country since 2012. The worst affected states are Kogi, Bayelsa, Jigawa, Rivers, Taraba, Cross River, and Delta states, with well over 650,000 hectares of crops reportedly damaged.
This analysis estimates that the total direct economic damages based on currently reported statistics of the November 25th are in the range of 3.79 billion USD to 9.12 billion USD, with the best median estimate at 6.68 billion USD. This includes damages to residential and non-residential buildings, including building contents, as well as damages to infrastructure, productive sectors, and to croplands.
The flood started in May and caused the death of 603 persons, while over 1.4 million people were displaced and over 2,400 persons injured across 33 states. According to the ministry, there was significant damage to infrastructure worth about $1.23 billion.
There is significant damage to infrastructure, including roads, irrigation and river infrastructures, as well as wash and electricity infrastructure, with around 1.23 billion USD, approximately 0.59 to 1.724 billion USD damage expected.
The ministry has received approval from the president for emergency intervention and livelihood programs for those affected by the disaster. However, the government is planning to use the findings of the report to rehabilitate victims of the 2022 flood.
To legal matters, the Supreme Court has dismissed an application for post-conviction bail brought by a serving senator representing Delta North Senatorial District, Peter Nwoboshi, who was jailed for 7 years on money laundering charges. While dismissing his application, a 5-member panel of the Apex Court noted that Nwoboshi's conduct was a slap on democracy and the rule of law. Justice Emmanuel Agim wondered why Nwoboshi, who refused to submit himself to the law, was now seeking the indulgence of the same. Justice Agim noted that being a serving senator ought to be an assurance that he is law-abiding and would readily submit to the authority of the law. He added that despite the fact that Nwoboshi has an appeal pending before the court, his application could not be granted because of the undisputed fact that he is in Nigeria but has continued to devise means to frustrate the subsisting custodial sentence imposed on him by the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal, Lagos Division, had, in a judgment on July the 1st last year, convicted and sentenced Senator Nwoboshi for money laundering. Rather than serving the jail term, Senator Nwoboshi, who was the candidate of the APC for Delta North Senatorial District in a general election, went underground. While still in hiding, he filed an appeal against his conviction and sentence, along with the application which he sought to be granted bail pending the determination of his appeal. And away from the court, workers of the Nigerian Postal Service are threatening to embark on an industrial action as from Monday, January the 30th, over alleged abandonment by the federal government. The General Secretary of the Senior Staff Association of Statutory Corporations and Government-Owned Companies, Mr. Ayo Olorunfemi, who led a protest in Abuja today, maintained that the service has not been receiving any form of capital funding from the federal government in the last 15 years. Mr. Olorunfemi also wants the government to beam its searchlight on the finances of the agency.
All that we are saying that is this: reform must be open, must be clear. Our fear must be addressed, and reform must be in the overall interest of Nigeria. Any reform that is targeting some individual will not be accepted, and therefore, this is another process. We have been going on strike, and they have been talking to us to suspend them. But this time around, this particular action is targeted solely on the reform process. And therefore, we expect a suspension of the process. Let the next government come and follow due process in ensuring that we have a sustainable reform procedure. We are expecting that a percentage, even if it is not more than 2% of that fund, be released to NIPOST for infrastructure and also the welfare of staff. You know what they did? Immediately, the so-called finance bill was passed into law. The money has been packed away. 1 naira has not been given to NIPOST. And NIPOST is not on any capital budget of the federal government.
In other news, barely a week after a train plying the Warri-Itakpe route derailed, an Abuja-bound train has also derailed about 200 meters from the Kubwa platform. The incident occurred in the Kubwa area of the Federal Capital Territory, but the Nigerian Railway Corporation says there were no casualties or injuries from the incident. Last Sunday's Warri-Itakpe route train derailment left many passengers stranded inside a forest in Kogi State. The train was said to have left Warri early on Sunday and got derailed at noon inside the forest between Ajaokuta and Itakwe, forcing many of the passengers to abandon the train for fear of being kidnapped before emergency evacuation of the rest of the passengers. Meanwhile, the Federal Road Safety Corps has announced a 15% rise in road accidents from 544 in 2021 to 626 in 2022. At a news conference here in Abuja, the Corps Marshal of the FRSC, Mr. Dauda Alibiu, says the Corps is determined to bring down the curve of road crashes if only motorists would desist from flagrant violations of traffic regulations.
It is important to emphasize that the increase recorded in most of the data presented above occur majorly because of increased visibility, which is a result of wider coverage by operatives, particularly with the establishment of local government stations. So we have stations now in all the 774 local government areas in Nigeria, which result in almost all traffic crashes across the country being captured. Having stated this, it is even more pertinent to note that the main factors responsible for the crashes are speed violation. That's the first major factor. Driving under influence, continuous night journey leading to fatigue, dangerous driving, wrongful overtaking, the tire violation, worn out and expired tires. Travelers must, as much as possible, avoid excessive speed and steer clear night trips due to the perennial dangers that come with it.
Well, that's all from our Abuja studios. Amara, it's back to you.
Thank you, Malpe. To health matters here in Lagos, the state government is encouraging residents to imbibe the habit of voluntary blood donation in order to stay healthy. Professor Akin Abayomi stated this after a blood donor awareness walk for the year 2023 held at Ikeja. He says the state government is committed to a safe blood transfusion practice, which will save lives of citizens during emergencies.
The sensitization walk on blood donation kicks off from Alausa Secretariat Ikeja by officials of the Lagos State Ministry of Health to create awareness on the importance of voluntary donation in commemoration of the year 2023 Blood Donor Awareness Month.
When you donate blood, you are at risk of cancer.
Knowing that blood plays a vital role in the body system, the team takes the blood donor campaign exercise to Ikeja Underbridge, distributing flyers to passers-by and market men and women, detailing what they need to know. After the walk, the State Executive Secretary of Blood Transfusion Services explains the benefit that comes with regular blood donation.
This awareness month is to increase the numbers of voluntary blood donors and to convert all our replacement donors to become voluntary blood donors. So you can donate blood at any of the Lagos State Blood Transfusion Service voluntary donation centers at General Hospital Lagos, Bagada General Hospital, as well as Lagos State Accident and Emergency. You can also go to all the state secondary healthcare centers, as well as the tertiary healthcare centers to donate blood. So walk into any of these facilities, donate blood, save lives.
While the State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, gives assurances that patients in need of blood will be given safe and non-infected blood.
Blood commodity is a critical asset to us in the medical fraternity because it's life-saving, it's life-giving. It's very important for us to have good access to blood. And voluntary donation is the standard all over the world by the World Health Organization. We're promoting it in Lagos. We're getting more and more young people who feel the urge to donate blood to our citizens, to our blood bank, and we can guarantee that any patient who needs to receive blood in Lagos State will be receiving a good quality, fresh, clean of risk, clean of infection, and there to save your lives.
Medical experts say regular blood donation prevents heart attacks and also reduces the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Residents of Lagos have been asked to present themselves voluntarily to the nearest general hospital in the state and save a life.
Let's get the day's business stories now. Here's Anne Wanwodu.
Thank you, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. The African Development Bank Group and the International Fund for Agricultural Development are teaming up to help 40 million African farmers double productivity and produce 100 million metric tons of food for 200 million people. The initiative, named Mission 1 for 200, aims at increasing funding for agricultural and food sector by helping farmers adapt to climate change and reducing agriculture's environmental impact and emissions. The landmark initiative will also help build food sovereignty and pave way for the more equitable distribution and access to food. The Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says additional premium motor spirits is now available at government-regulated price of 185 naira per litre, warning marketers to desist from selling above that price. In a statement signed today by Mr. Farouk Ahmed, who is the chief executive of the NMDPRA, the authorities assures that the NNPC has in stock 1.6 billion litres of PMS, and there's no reason for the pump price hike being experienced in Nigeria. The authority also explains the current distribution hitch is heightened by activities of cross-border smugglers who divert petrol meant for Nigerian markets to neighboring countries, and that government is engaging with the Nigerian Customs Service to address this issue. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has signed 1.768 trillion naira 2023 appropriation bill into law. The governor, who assented to the budget at the Lagos House in Ikeja, says the budget for the fiscal year will cater for infrastructural projects that will change the face of the state. We head to the equities market now, where it made a U-turn into negative territory. Investors profit-taking in MTN Nigeria amid sell-offs in Guinness. Let's hear the details and the numbers from Laddie Williams.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Reports. Well, the rebound we saw yesterday couldn't continue on the final trading session for the week. If we look at it, it's down 0.18%, 52,657 points. Better than what I saw at intraday. That was down over 1%, so it's better we close at this. Market cap, 28.681 trillion now. Let's look at the activity chart. We see it's all green, more volume, value than we had yesterday. And we see the deals, 3,599. Let's look at the sectoral performance. We see banking there, down marginally, 0.03%. Consumer goods, thanks to Guinness Nigeria there, didn't get that positive result with the earnings for the fourth quarter there. Oil and gas, that's up 0.13%. The bearish performance is due to profit taking with MTN Nigeria and tier one banks, and it's still a positive market breadth and should be a positive week. We'll see how the market performs next week. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
That's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Amarachi. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks a lot, Anne. The U.S. city of Memphis is bracing for the release of a police video of an arrest that led to the death of Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old man who suffered extensive bleeding caused by severe beating from 5 Memphis Police Department officers on January 7. A video at the heart of the matter will be released around 6 p.m. local time on Saturday. Earlier today, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said he'd been briefed about the video, while FBI Director Christopher Wray, who has watched it, said it was appalling. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
So please join me in a moment of silence to honor.
President Joe Biden is urging protests in Tennessee to remain peaceful as officials plan to release video of an arrest that led to a motorist's death. 5 Memphis police officers who were fired last week after a black man who died after an encounter with the officers were in custody and indicted by a grand jury on charges including second-degree murder. Body cam video of the encounter with the 29-year-old Tyre Nichols will be published, and lawyers for his family said it will show him being severely beaten. The city of Memphis is said to be on edge, and police there have increased patrols.
Earlier today, the grand jury returned indictments against 5 former Memphis Police Department officers regarding the death of Tyre Nichols.
In Ukraine, 11 officials have either resigned or been sacked as Kyiv tries to tackle government corruption. Kylo Tymoshenko, deputy head of President Volodymyr Zelensky's office, quit after reports he moved his family into a mansion. Ukraine's Deputy Prosecutor General, Oleksiy Somoyenko, was also removed from his post. It's led to some politicians in the US calling for aid to Ukraine to be restricted. The journalist Mikhailo Tak has recently reported that the company of a senior official's personal trainer allegedly received millions of pounds, as well as a story about President Zelensky's deputy head of office. It's bad timing for Ukraine, as it seeks donations from the West for its war effort against Russia. New Zealand's largest city has declared a state of emergency after torrential rain prompted widespread flooding and evacuations. People in Auckland here forced to evacuate their homes. Footage from local broadcasters showing people moving through chest-deep floodwaters, one person carrying a child and another a dog, as they were forced to move to higher ground. The downpour in Auckland shifted houses, stalled traffic, and cut power to homes and businesses. Here, people heading to an Elton John concert in Auckland forced to turn back and wade through floodwaters to return home after the show was cancelled last minute. Haitian police officers on blocked streets have forced their way into the country's main airport to protest against the recent killing of officers by armed gangs. Protesters in civilian clothes who identified themselves as police first attacked Prime Minister Ariel Henry's official office and then flooded the airport as Henry was arriving from a trip to Argentina. Roads around Port-au-Prince and in several cities to the north were blocked by protesters. Haitian human rights groups say 78 police officers have been killed since Henry came to power in July 2021, averaging 5 every month. American officials say U.S. forces have killed an Islamic State leader, Bilal al-Sudani, and 10 of his operatives in northern Somalia. He was killed after U.S. Special Forces raided a remote mountainous cave complex hoping to capture him. Analysts say the fact that U.S. troops were sent under the orders of President Joe Biden to kill or capture Sudani, rather than using a less risky drone strike, indicates his significance.
Wir waren schon einmal weiter. Antisemitismus und Antiziganismus.
The rise in anti-Semitic attacks in Germany are a disgrace for our country. That's according to the Parliament President, Barbel, as the Bundestag commemorated the victims of the Holocaust on Remembrance Day. She told lawmakers and Holocaust survivors gathered on the visitors' gallery that no one must turn a blind eye. Anti-Semitism, racism and xenophobia are definitely not just present at the very edge. She said memorial sites are being desecrated, Jewish installations and synagogues being attacked, and people met with hostility are being threatened and attacked because they are Jewish. Britain's King Charles and the Queen Consort Camilla also held an audience at Buckingham Palace to remember those who died during the Holocaust. And Egyptologists have uncovered pharaonic tombs that have been sealed for 4,300 years in Egypt at Saqqara, 20 kilometers south of Cairo. Inside one of the tombs was a mummy found at the bottom of a 15-meter shaft in a recently uncovered group of 5th and 6th dynasty tombs. The mummy of a man named Hekashepes was in a limestone tomb that had been sealed in mortar since the original burial 4 millennia ago. Numerous statues were also found amongst the tombs, including one representing a man with his wife and child.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many Many thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Well, Everton are set to appoint Sean Dyche as manager after failing to persuade Marcelo Bielsa to take over a relegation club threatened. That's the relegation-threatened club. Everton, of course, will former Leeds and Argentina manager Bielsa, who was owner Farhad Morshiri's first choice to replace Frank Lampard, flew into Heathrow Airport on Thursday for face-to-face talks with the businessman. And of course, Arsenal have crashed out of the FA Cup after losing by a 1-0 to Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. And that's Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.
And the main news again, the Osun Governorship Election Tribunal today nullified the election of Ademola Adeleke as governor of Osun State and ordered INEC to declare Gboyega Oyetola as validly elected in the July 2022 governorship poll. Former Governor Oyetola said its victory well deserved. Also today, Governor Ademola Adeleke described the Osun Tribunal verdict as miscarriage of justice and vowed to approach the appeal court to challenge the judgment. That's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night and stay safe.